What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with this physique update from Andrew Jack and Ramon Dino, less than 17 weeks out of this year's big show. And whenever people say that Ramon Dino should switch over to the men's open bodybuilding instead of sticking to classic physique, well, to all of those guys, just take a look at this picture and try to understand the difference in the overall mass, the size, the depth, and the density of the muscle mass that a guy carries in the men's open class, who is a top 5 Olympian, versus a top classic physique athlete who has placed second twice, and a guy who many people out there consider to be a very strong contender to win this year's Olympia title in classic physique. So this right here proves to us that there is years and years of hard work required to put on that kind of muscle mass for any top classic guys if he's ready to make that switch to the men's open bodybuilding. Now let's talk about the physique update from Andrew Jack. Looking very solid and in my opinion very impressive with 17 more weeks to go till this year's Miss Olympia. And this is simply due to the fact that even in the clean out phase, even when Andrew is in the detox, he sticks to his diet. He eats very clean all year round. And he's one of those guys who actually doesn't like to eat a lot of food, especially during the off-season. And that is the reason why he did not put on a bunch of water weight, as he wanted to stay very lean at the start of his off-season, which by the way is gonna be a small off-season, considering the fact that he was on prep until this year's FIBA Germany, the show that he won against Joan to secure his Olympia spot. Now the good thing for Andrew Jack this time around is that this is the first time in his pro career he was able to qualify for the Olympia relatively early during the season, which in turn increases his chances of showing up very fresh and possibly at his all-time best at this year's Miss Olympia, as he always looks awesome at the Arnold and Texas Pro in comparison to how he shows up at the Olympia, because that is usually his last show of the season and he kind of burns out by the time Olympia comes. But this time he's gonna have a solid break before the Olympia this year. So that shaved head on the mutant Nick Walker, that makes his overall physique look even bigger in comparison to how he looked before. So the mutant is gonna be stepping back on that Miss Olympia stage after a gap of 2 years, with not only a new physique and a very improved physique, but also with a new look as well. So how crazy is that condition for 17 weeks out of this year's big show? Yes, he did compete in 2 shows like 6 weeks back, but his look right now, that just shows that he has been very disciplined with that rebound phase. Now, we know Nick Walker has the structural disadvantage over all the top 3 guys from last year's Miss Olympia, namely Hardy, Derek, and Samson. And we can put Andrew Jack and Martin Fitzwater in there too. So he's gonna have to make up for that with his gnarly conditioning by coming in very hot and more conditioned and more grainy than ever before. And the man did exactly that at this year's Pittsburgh Pro, and he nearly took out a former Miss Olympia and the reigning Arnold champion, Derek Lunsford. And we know majority of the fans out there, they actually had Nick Walker beating him. So him and his coach, Kyle Wilkes, they sent it out of the park on their first time working together. So we can expect the same from the mutant for this year's Olympia too. Now Nick Walker keeps on saying that he's gonna be in that top 3, but in my opinion, a top 4 placing is a more of a realistic goal, especially if those top 3 guys from last year, they all show up at their 100%. Yes, there is a strong argument for Nick beating Derek, especially what happened at the Pittsburgh Pro, but the fact is he did not beat him in the eyes of the judges, and we know Derek wasn't 100% on for this year's Pittsburgh Pro. And at the end of the day, the only opinion that truly matters, that is of the judges. That being said, I for one am very excited to see the mutant back on the biggest bodybuilding stage this year. So China Pro is also going down this weekend, and so is Dubai Pro. And we have some updates from Presti and Juan Pradels, 2 of the biggest names who are probably gonna fight for China Pro title and also the Olympia qualification for this year. So Juan's legs have looked absolutely nuts throughout this prep, and this is where he can expose Presti And that too big time, because nobody is gonna beat Presti in the upper half, especially in terms of his width and muscularity. The man is just way too good front to back. But his legs, they make him look very vulnerable. So Juan Pradels also gave a sneak peek of his conditioning 2 days out of this year's China Pro. And it seems like he's gonna be 100% on. And the same can be said about 3 times Portugal Pro champion Andrea Presti. As we all know in terms of conditioning, Presti always comes in very tight. So the return of Juan Pradels, that is a more anticipated thing here, since he's coming back after taking 2 years off. And interestingly, the last time he was on the pro stage, and that was at the Emperor Classic Spain back in 2023, Andrea Presti was also doing that same show. And the man looked to be in a league of his own. Now Michael Crizo was the one who came out on top in that show, and Juan Pradels did not even make into that top 5. And Presti was the one who came second, behind Crizo in that show. So Presti really wants to win this one, after placing second 3 times in 2024. And Juan Pradels, he also wants to make history, because if he's able to qualify for the Olympia, he will most probably gonna be the youngest guy from Spain to accomplish that feat. Next up, we have an update from Terren, the undisputed Pittsburgh Pro and the New York Pro champion. So the Olympia prep, that has already started for him. But that doesn't mean that he has started to cut big time. That simply means that he's gonna try to put on some additional muscle on his frame in the next few weeks. Try to max out his weight cap, because that is something that he needs to do if he wants to give Mike Sommerfeld a run for his money at this year's Miss Olympia. Now the finished product from Terren, that proves to everyone that he's one of the most classic looking guy in this division by every definition. But it also kind of showed that he still needs more muscle in certain areas in order to win Classic Physique Olympia title. And make no mistake, Terren is only coming for that #1 spot in October this year. And this isn't just a claim. He legit has the best shot, the best chance of beating Mike Sommerfeld if he can maintain that same flow, that same amazing structure, keep his classic lines in check while adding more muscle and more mass. So out of all the guys who have improved tremendously in classic physique in the last 2 years, Mike and Terren, they both are on the top of that list. And as far as Terren is concerned, him coming in 10 pounds heavier, that only made his aesthetics look even more beautiful and way better, and that made him such an ideal physique for classic physique division and being the biggest ambassador of the sport. So what do you guys think? Will Terren be back in that Olympia top 2 for the first time since 2021? Rubiel Mosquera aka Nextzilla fires another update 2 days out from this year's Dubai Pro. So the side chest, which is not only one of his best shots, but arguably among the best side chest in the current men's open bodybuilding class. So this shot becomes so damn freaky, especially when the detail in his side leg, that comes in very nicely, and that is looking bonkers right now. Now the thing is, nobody can argue that Rubiel is gonna dwarf everyone with the kind of size that he has, especially on his legs, in this year's Dubai Pro lineup. And the man looks to be in a superb condition, based on the training and the physique updates that we have seen from him in the past couple of weeks. And we have to keep in mind, this wasn't a last-minute decision by Rubiel jumping into this year's Dubai Pro. He made that decision a while back. He was prepping for it for a few months now. And all the bodybuilding fans, they want to see this freak of nature bring more detail and more separation, especially in his quads. Because if he does that, it's gonna be 100% game on. So I hope you guys haven't forgotten that Rubiel was able to beat Nathan Diasha in Prague back in 2023, where he made his pro debut. And he must have made some improvements since that time. So the most important thing here, that is gonna be the quality that many of these pros, they gain over time. And for the record, Rubiel is only 29 years old. So do let me know what you guys think. How high can Rubiel place? Can he shock us all and win the whole damn thing? So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.